The experience of viewing oneself in the mirror the first time after an amputation was like an epistemological silence. We had no words to describe it. I am Dr. Frey Steenson, an associate professor of nursing in the Nelda C. Stark College of Nursing at Texas Women's University. We partnered with the renowned Rehabilitation and Research Hospital, TIR Memorial Hermann, to study this experience. For the individual who has suffered an amputation, the mirrors that we take for granted every day can take on an entirely different significance. We want to thank the actors in this video for sharing what we have learned through our research with you.
Self-image equals confidence. The more you see, the more comfortable you will get, knowing that you will get to a point where you're ready to accept who this person is in the mirror, that it's actually you, being comfortable with yourself, with that new you, and that it won't be new anymore, and that it would just be you in the end.
If I could have known first how to look in the mirror, to start accepting it, and then I think it would have been easier for me to deal with it overall, because if you can accept it, then anybody can accept it.
I think it's important. This video is very, very important. There's not a lot of information out there on amputees. I've spent time looking, and it didn't answer any of my questions. And I'm hoping this will answer some for some other one.
About 5 years ago, I was in a car accident. My car hit a tree, it caught on fire, and I was trapped inside. So I had to be life-flighted to the hospital. Once I got there, they told me that they were going to have to amputate my toes. Still having problems, kept going higher and higher, until eventually they amputated my right leg below the knee and half of my left foot.
I was born with PFFD, proximal femoral focal deficiency, and in order to be able to actually be more mobile, amputation was the option. So May 16th of 2005, they did my first amputation, which was below the knee.
I went to the doctor one Saturday morning thinking I had a bad case of the flu, and the next thing I know, I'm in ICU. I remember waking up and I saw my hands were black, and I knew what that meant, but it didn't really register. And the next memory I have, I woke up and I didn't have hands. They were wrapped in bandages. And eventually it was explained to me why, that, because of the medication, they had to amputate them.
I was 7 years old. We used to run and jump and ride the trains, and fell in between the cars, and it got me. I was laying on my back, and my front leg went over the rail, and one of the wheels got me, and then there was a chain that was dragging, wrapped around my arm, and just took me, and all the gravel and stuff was tearing up my left leg, until this here just snapped and sealed it shut and dumped me right there in between the tracks. And I remember putting my arm up in the air as a sign for someone to see me, to come for help. And that was going to be 43 years ago.
Me, the first time I see myself in the mirror was a couple of days after my amputation in the hospital. Rehab came to get me in the room, start rehab, and as I stood up on my walker, they placed the mirror right there in front of me. And that's when I kind of glanced and looked at myself and like, wow, my leg is actually gone. I felt shocked. I was angry, I was mad at the world, because this is the new me now, I felt like it threw a monkey wrench in all my plans. And now here I am with my leg gone, and the question in my head was, what am I gonna do now?
Well, in the hospital, I think a couple times I'd used a small mirror just to look at the incision site, but I hadn't really looked at myself in a mirror until I got home and saw myself in the full-length mirror in my bathroom. And so I was in my wheelchair, just happened to wheel by, and kind of caught a glimpse of myself, and remember thinking almost, who is that? I couldn't recognize that person as me at all. And it's something I still kind of struggle with, but at the time I had a distinct feeling of, who is this person? I can't be me in this body. I'm not sure how to describe the emotions that came after that initial shock. Maybe panic almost, just, okay, there has to be some way out of this. This cannot be real. We have to figure out a way for this not to be true. Just wanting it to not be real.
All the stages of loss, grief, anger, resentment, and the last part be freedom, when you can look down and say, you know, that this is who I am and I'm proud of who I am.
Yeah, I definitely felt revulsion and oh, what is this? And if I didn't like to look at it, I thought nobody else is going to want to look at this either. Being comfortable in front of the mirror is just a process. It's going to take some time. Eventually, you'll get to the place where it's okay, and that won't be your sole focus. Because at first, that is your focus. Oh my goodness, and you're kind of fixated on the problem versus the reality of the whole. And so, in time, that changes, and you'll get to where it's just okay.
And it's okay. It's okay to experience anger. It's okay to experience frustration or sadness or guilt or denial. And that it's going to be a process, and that it does get better. It's, this is not it. This is not it. This is not where your story ends.
I think that, you have an idea in your mind of what you look like. You have a picture of yourself in your brain. And then you look in the mirror, and that's not what you see. So there's a big sense of disconnect. The person I see in the mirror is not who I am in my mind. So you really have to look in the mirror until your brain, almost on the level of the neuron, begins to recognize and change that picture that you have in your head of who you are. And looking in the mirror really facilitates that process until how you look in the mirror and how you look in your mind are the same thing. So it's definitely a process. Looking at myself in the mirror now, 5 years out from my amputation, is totally different than seeing myself in the mirror for that first time. So there's a trajectory. It evolves, it changes over time each time you look in the mirror.
When I go to bed and before sleeping, I look at myself in the mirror. I feel okay. But this will not happen on day 1 or on day 2. It could take months, years. You could be totally fine looking at yourself, and suddenly something else happens which makes you look at that part and notice that part in a totally different light.
I always kind of used other people as my mirror, if that makes any sense, to where I already had a image of myself growing up looking into the mirror. It's what I've always been used to, but it's a little different when you meet someone for the first time, or you're just walking somewhere, and just using other people as a mirror kind of, and just really learning how to read other people well, and just the way they kind of react when you meet someone for the first time or pass by them. It's different. It's tough to process.
Getting used to having one arm and the fear of everybody's perception of me and what they thought, I thought, if this is what it's going to be, I'm going to walk around with one arm, then the rest of me is going to look freaking awesome. And I focused on that, and that remains my focus.
I always thought that the feelings I had when looking in the mirror were just mine. It never even occurred to me that other people may have a similar experience. So talking to other people is good. I think it's important for other amputees to know not to avoid the mirror. I've heard so many people, and I went through avoiding looking in the mirror, and you think that you're saving yourself some pain, that you're doing something good by not forcing yourself to look at your image because it causes you so much displeasure. But in reality, you're putting something off that's inevitable, and in order to accept yourself, you have to be able to at least look at yourself. I mean, how can you accept yourself if you can't even stand the sight of yourself? So it's important to go through whatever emotions that brings up, work through that, and then eventually you'll get to a place where even if you don't like what you see, at least you're comfortable with looking.
I like what you said. Once you accept yourself in that mirror, everybody else accepts you. Once you have that confidence in yourself, like, oh, okay, I'm in the mirror, I look good today, and you step out in the world, everybody sees it. They don't even see the prosthetic or anything you're missing no more, because they're looking at you like, dude, this dude has a smile on his face, happy-go-lucky today. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I feel every day.
I like looking in the mirror.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, I don't even see it no more in the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about my clothes, my actions.
Yeah, I cruise. I go, okay, we're looking pretty good,
Yeah.
man, and keep on rolling.
And you know, that's a good point. Like, first when you look in the mirror, you see what you're missing.
Yeah.
And then over time you can see yourself and see that. And then after that, you just see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see you for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard, Joel Osteen, different psychologists, when you're using affirmation statements that they tell you, get in front of the mirror, tell yourself that. And it's that same powerful thing, the imagery of healing, that you have to connect to your thoughts. So that's what's powerful about it.
Being around other amputees, I've learned a lot, and I've learned that it does get better. It just takes time. I'm early in the process. I've been told 3 to 5 years it gets better. You can see yourself when you look in the mirror. It's totally integrated. That's who you are. That's that new normal that we all look for. And I know it's there. I know it's coming. I trust the people that I've been around that have been there. It just can't come soon enough.
Yeah, look at this handsome devil,
I use the mirror to get ready in the mornings, do my hair, my makeup, my lipstick, earrings, just making sure, that last glance before you walk out the door that you're presentable and ready for the world to see you.
When I learned to walk again at the physical therapy department, there was a mirror at the end of some parallel bars that I used to observe my gait when I was walking between them, just to make sure that my walking motion was as normal as possible.
After the amputation, I used the mirror to check the incision site, and now I continue to use it to check the leg to make sure there's not any skin breakdown or any red areas to where there might be skin breakdown. I use the mirror when putting on the prosthetic to make sure that one side is not longer than the other and to make sure I'm fitting down into the prosthetic evenly like I should be.
So I used to just, be so focused on my amputated leg. And recently I had twins, and I found myself looking in the mirror and kind of being very focused on my C-section scar and thinking, oh, this scar is so horrible. And then I think about, okay, you have burns on this leg, you're missing half a foot, you don't have, and you're noticing this tiny little scar right there. So that was kind of a funny thing to realize.
What I do with that's up to me. And I choose just to be very focused. I'm going to get through this. Tomorrow's going to come. Me having amputations is not going to change the world.
I think when you realize that there's more to you than just the amputation, you can't let it just define you. Like, I'm an amputee and that's it. No, that's not it. I'm more than an amputee. I'm a business analyst. I am a sled hockey player. I enjoy playing tennis. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I like to skydive. It's those things that you learn to define yourself by. It's an adrenaline rush, and it helps to get out and be out there with everyone.
But once you can see yourself and be happy with, that it's going to be cool, it's going to be all right, You're alive, you're here. You can move on. You can do anything you want to after that. But you have to accept yourself and love yourself. And once you can do that, there's no stopping you.
We raise families, we work jobs, we play sports, we go out with our friends.
Me and that person in the mirror, it's up to us to be able, to make it through this world.